So the Labour Party have proved that they support trickle-down economics. They are no different to the Tories when it comes to the economy and a bunch of other stuff too. No wealth tax under Labour, Rachel Reeves pledges. Rachel Reeves has ruled out any version of a wealth tax if Labour forms the next government, declaring that additional taxation will not lead to prosperity. Mrs. Reeves puts an end to speculation over the prospect of either a discrete wealth or mansion tax or higher levies for those earning money from stocks and shares or buy-to-let properties. She also confirms that Sir Keir's 2020 leadership pledge to increase the top rate of income tax is now off the table. So surely it's unambiguous now that the Labour Party is just another capital party. It is a party of the rich. It is no different to the Conservatives. Surely even Starmer's biggest fans can see this now. Now they say stuff like, we can't afford to do all the great things that a Labour government could do. They can't even commit to ending the two-child benefit policy because there's not enough money, yet they turn around and say, but we're not going to raise taxes on the richest, which could bring in more money. So they unequivocally don't care about the working class of this country. It's not radical, hard left to point this out. It's just the facts. Now, their message is a bit confusing because over the last year or so, they've talked a good game about intervening in the economy, such as this speech from Rachel Reeves in the US.
At the root of this, I believe, are two errors in economic policy making. The first of these is what I consider to be a fundamental underappreciation of the role of government. That error dictated that a government's primary economic imperatives should simply be to get out of the way of free enterprise.
Now, one would think, well, that kind of sounds like a social democratic program, right? You know, the government playing an active role. Would you be fooled? Miss Reeves said she would overturn a minister knows best approach to incorporate firms more closely into decisions made in Whitehall. What this essentially means is that their idea of government intervention is making themselves closer to big business, which is classic neoliberal politics. Labour's core economic argument is to grow the economy to bring prosperity, which is no different from not only the Tories, but the last 40 years of neoliberalism. So for big business, they want to build partnerships to kind of, bend and warp the government around their wishes, which is a bastardization of intervening in the economy. But for the rest of us, there won't be more funding for public services or maybe marginal funding. Nationalisation is off the table or direct government intervention for the rest of us. But rather, their approach will be, well, let's see how things go and hopefully your life may get better if the economy is more stable. But we don't have a lack of wealth in this country. It's a lack of redistribution, which is why even if the economy grows, most of us won't feel it because all those gains are going to go to the top. That's how the economy works. So regardless of whether the economy is screwed or whether it's stable, it doesn't make a difference to workers because redistribution is necessary in both circumstances. So why are Labour taking this approach? There's a few different reasons. I have my analysis. Some other people could have different analysis. My analysis is this. One, they are so desperate to look like the grown-ups in the room. So they think that pivoting to the right, economic policies that support the rich is what grown-up politics is supposed to be. And that's how the mainstream media see it. Any radical politics that support working class, it's utopian politics, it's the politics of envy, it's uni politics, it's not particularly intellectual or smart. Obviously, that's crap, but that's the way the mainstream media is built up, and the Labour right love to look like the adults in the room. So that's one reason why they take this approach. Secondly, and it probably goes further than that, because I would have described that just for typical Blairites or even under Ed Miliband with their balls. I mean, he admitted himself that he didn't believe in pro-austerity politics that much, but he thought that's the way to win. So he didn't believe in that. With Rachel Reeves and Keir Starmer, though, I think they're that right-wing that they actually believe in it, which is kind of hard to say. I think it's actually quite hard to read Keir Starmer because he's such a flip-flopper, he's so dishonest, that I don't even know where to put him. On one hand, I can say, well, he supports these right-wing politics because that's who he is. But on the other hand, I don't know where to put him because he doesn't know where he is. He has no particular ideology. He just he just wants power. With Rachel Reeves, though, I think she's far clearer in where she stands in her politics. Even back in 2015 or actually 2013, she believed that we should clamp down on welfare. This is when she was not in the front bench She wasn't particularly in frontline politics, really. And she was talking this nonsense. So for Rachel Reeves, she is a hardcore neoliberal. And the third reason, this is probably not my analysis, but other people say, is that, it's a way to get elected. And a lot of Starmer supporters or Blairites will say it's the only way you can win a general election. You have to win from the centre ground. And by the way, I argue that this isn't centre ground politics, it's very right wing. But I don't believe that, because there are a lot of these policies that they didn't need to do. So, for example, majority of people want higher taxes on the rich. Majority of people want to end austerity, public ownership, minimum wage. You get it. Of course, having popular policies and putting them to the electorate doesn't automatically win a general election. We saw that with Jeremy Corbyn. His economic policies are very much in line with the British people, but it didn't win because there's so many other factors, like, I don't know, the mainstream media misconstruing a lot of these sensible politics is hard left communist. So yes, some people say they're trying to play the game. However, if the Labour Party came out and said, we are going to raise taxes on the rich and we're going to fund our public services, they won't lose their 20-point lead. Why? Because the reason why Labour are so far ahead is because Liz Truss destroyed the economy and people now trust the Labour Party. Now, of course, if they were to adopt all Corbynite economic policies, there's a chance that their poll lead would dramatically drop, because once again, the mainstream media would just say, well, it's hard left Corbynism. They'd muddy the waters. It wouldn't be a sensible political debate. So I get that they don't want to be like Corbyn 2.0. But just to say something simple and probably vague, like, we will raise taxes on the wealthiest to pay for such and such, it wouldn't put people off. And especially, and this would work perfectly, that Liz Truss, the reason why the economy crashed under her was because she did unfunded tax cuts for the rich. So if Labour turned around and said, we're going to do a wealth tax, or we're going to increase taxes on the corporations, they can literally say, contrast this economic policy to what Liz Truss has done. She tried cutting taxes for her mates, and it failed and crashed the economy. We're going to be much more sensible with our finances by bringing revenue in. So there's an easy narrative they can play out here. And I guarantee if they just said we're going to raise taxes on the rich, they wouldn't wipe out their 20-point lead. I reiterate, the reason why people went to Labour is because they don't trust the Tories anymore, especially on the economy. Liz Truss screwed with people's mortgages, which is a big no-no for Tory voters. So it's almost inevitable that people are going to vote for Labour anyway. So why don't they do it? And it brings me back to the point, is that they don't believe in progressive politics. They are just right-wing, especially Rachel Reeves. I think they even know that if they come up with some progressive politics, some centre-left, left-wing economic policies, that their poll lead wouldn't be damaged. They still would win a majority, but they won't do it because they don't believe in that. There's a reason why Labour have raised more than the Conservatives, is because they've courted wealthy donors. Now, as opposed to Jeremy Corbyn, they were richer than the Tories, but it was from individual members. This time, they're getting shitload of money from dark big business. So why are they going to support policies that are going to attack big business? The Labour Party, just through and through, is a capitalist capital party. They are no different from the Tories whatsoever, and that includes social policy. And I'm speaking to people, not particularly on the left, but I'm speaking to people who will call themselves a liberal or a moderate or a centrist and say, yeah, but we need to get rid of the Tories. Any Labour government is better than the Conservative government. People on the left, Corbynistas, are just throwing the Tories at the pram, that they don't get everything they want. I'm appealing to you right now, and I'm saying to you, we're not being purist. I'm not a purist. I'm categorically saying to you that Labour's policies are identical to the Tories. For me, yes, I supported Jeremy Corbyn. Yes, I voted for him twice as leader, and I voted for him as Prime Minister twice. Yes, I would support just as a left-wing Labour leader as Jeremy Corbyn, but I'm not pure. I would take a centrist social democrat at this point. I'd take Andy Burnham. I'd take Angela Rayner. Just someone who has some sort of essence of Labour values. So they don't need to be radically left at all. But Keir Starmer isn't centre-left. Keir Starmer isn't centrist or moderate. He doesn't have any Labour values. He is a Conservative. He told us this. So again, I stress, people need to know that the Labour Party and the Tories are exactly the same. And when Labour win, things won't change at all.